Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Horror Debate. I'm Michael Mandy. He's Jeff Rowdy J. Keir.
And this week we are doing the movie Hostel, produced by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Eli Roth. And I gotta honestly say, man, the hype behind this one was unbelievable.
Oh, they were going nuts because they wanted it to appear like it was just a giant torture, hardcore film, and I was actually surprised it really wasn't. Well, the first hour did kind of drag a bit.
The first hour was extremely slow. I kept looking at the time on the DVD player going, when is this movie actually going to start? When are we going to kick in and get some action? Luckily, in the second hour, I was pleasantly surprised.
It started off almost like a Girls Gone Wild, the European vacation.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, definitely kept our interest to keep us from turning it off. But then the second hour, it actually started to have a plot. It was more like The Most Dangerous Game of people who are paying to torture people, but then the guy gets out and it becomes like a chase film, and I was actually surprised by it.
Well, I think the plot was there from the beginning of the movie. It's just so drawn out that you kind of lose it in the middle of all the sex and everything else. But I honestly believe that drawing the plot out that far kind of diluted it, but the second part of the movie more than made up for it. Good stuff in there, man.
Well, we were talking about Cannes Film Festival, and it was being hyped. The hype machine was going nuts on it, kind of like the Blair Witch Project. This became the must-see film for the gorehounds, and because they released the unrated DVD edition, that way they get your money twice.
That's right. But again, this movie right now,
and Eli Roth as a director, I mean, people just go after him. And this is his second movie. People call him a hack. They didn't like Cabin Fever. People either love him, thinking he's a great young hotshot director, or he's just a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. And you know what, guys? He's actually out there doing it. And he knows how to create the concept of a film. He knows how to edit something. He knows how to pace it. Well, okay, the pacing was a little slow at the beginning, but he made up for it in the second half. And we've seen some really awful films by other filmmakers, and he's doing a good job. I think he's got a very big future ahead of him.
Yeah, the best thing that I can compare this to, as far as when the movie was about to come out and all the hype around it, was kind of what happened with the Blair Witch. I mean, the internet played a huge part in making that movie what it was. I think that if it was just advertised with your normal trailers on TV and in the theater, like you would normally see, you would not have had the type of reaction to the Blair Witch. I mean, it was just like a chain reaction that just went off from the website, making you believe that it was real, that it was actually real footage that you were seeing of these people camping. I mean, it was kind of the same thing with Hostel. It was a big deal. I mean, I heard stories of people throwing up in the theater. I heard stories of people passing out. I heard stories of all kinds of things that were going on. I said, man, I got to see this thing.
Another interesting bit of trivia about this film is it was written, produced, directed, edited, and in the theaters in 1 year. Now, usually films take about 3 or 4 years to run the whole gamut, but this one, it only took 1 year, and it kind of made it more frantic.
Yes, it absolutely added to the presentation. I thought it didn't seem rushed at all. It was just grittier, nastier. The shooting was just it was more, like you said, tense, frantic. Definitely fit this movie.
Yeah,
perfectly.
the 1 year, the rushed speed actually, I think, helped the film. Kind of like in Romero's Night of the Living Dead, the low budget and the handheld camera, the grittiness. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, absolutely.
That added so much to it. It wasn't so slick.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the best example of that you could possibly use. I mean, that's exactly what this movie kind of gave you the feeling of, that gritty vibe. For this type of movie, you just that's the way to go.
How was the video and the sound transfer?
The video, absolutely pristine, man. I mean, you looked high def off a standard DVD to, even if you're watching it just in 480i or 480p, although we were watching it, of course, up-converted to 1080i in true high def. But honestly, even on a regular TV, I mean, this thing looks fantastic, even though it was shot with the grittiness. I mean, it definitely looks like a high-definition movie. Audio-wise, I have to say this one really just knocks it out of the park audio-wise. The vocals are just absolutely clear. The sound effects in the rear channels are circling around you, from the shatterings to the booms to the, just everything about it was fantastic. Added to it so much. Audio is such a huge portion of these horror movies, and movies that don't get it right really suffer, and this one absolutely got it right.
All right, so we both kind of liked it. I liked it just because I was expecting it to be nothing but a solid 2 hours of torture, and people screaming and crying, and I was surprised. surprised it really wasn't. It actually had a plot and tension and a chase scene, and
Well, I was expecting to throw up.
Other people
So,
did.
you know, and I was a little disappointed that I didn't, but...
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because I was sitting next to you.
But, yeah, absolutely. If you're a horror nut, go see this movie, man. Check it out. You know, it's probably a rent, but go check it out. You won't be disappointed, in my opinion.
All right, we both liked it. Hostel, way to go. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Eli Roth comes up with next.
Me too.
All right, I'm Michael Mandy. He's Jeff Rowdy Jake here, and we'll see you next time at the Horror Debate.